Alright, so we finished linear equations last video. This video we start with solving quadratic equations by factoring. So, definition first. A quadratic equation, again remember the quotes means underline for definition. Quadratic equation in x is an equation that can be written in the standard form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, where a, b, c are real numbers and a is different from 0. So again, what do I mean there? That a is not equal to 0, right? So if a is 0, then you just have a linear equation. So for quadratic, this needs to be non-zero, right? Note, a quadratic equation can also be called a second-degree polynomial equation in x, or polynomial of degree 2. Same ideas. So we solve these. First way is obviously by factoring. You guys have seen this before. So, first example, we want to solve the quadratic equation x squared minus 3x minus 10 equals 0. So, and you guys, we've done this before. We want to try to factor this somehow. So you guys remember how to factor? If you don't know how to factor, remember how to factor. That's the point of this. So we have an x and an x. Somehow, the product has to be 0, right? We got to find two things here that multiply together to give us 10. It's either be 1 and 10 or 2 and 5. But their difference is going to have to be 3 in this case. So we're going to need 2 and 5. So we need a 2 and a 5, and now this is a negative 3, so we need the 5 to be negative and the 2 to be positive, and we need that makes sense because this is negative here, so we need positive 2 times a negative gives us a negative, right? So if you multiply this through, you get x times x is x squared plus 2x minus 5x plus 2x minus 5x is minus 3x plus 2 times minus 5 is minus 10, right? Positive 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. Alright, and now, you guys laugh, but I'm stress this. If you have two things multiplied together and they give you 0, then one of these two has to be 0. So then x plus 2 has to be 0. Or x minus 5 has to be 0. Again, this 0 is the only number that this works with. You guys laugh, but I've taught Calc 1 a couple times. I'll have people factor x plus 2 times 5 equals 7. And they'll say x plus 2 is 7 or x minus 5 is 7. That's wrong. One could be 14, one could be 1/2, right? I mean, it doesn't... Well, you know what I mean? One could... Anyway, this only works with 0. One 0, the other 0. The power of the number 0, right? And then we can solve over here. You get x, subtract 2 off, you get x equals negative 2. Subtract over here, you get x equals 5. And you can easily plug these in, check they both work. Negative 2 squared is 4. Negative 2 times negative 3 is 6. 4 plus 6 is 10. Minus 10 is 0. 25 minus 15 minus 10 is 0. So our solutions for this equation are negative 2 and 5. Right? Alright. So clear this. The next example, we're given x squared minus 10x plus 9 equals 0. And again, this same idea we want to try to factor. Now this is easier. There's a plus sign here. So this is, to factor this, you're going to have an x plus and an x plus, right? Now 9's either 1 and 9 or 3 and 3, but we have to get 10. So I did plus and plus. Crap. Of course, plus and plus or minus and minus, right? So minus here. Sorry about that. Should delete the video and stop over, so me saying that's never on video anywhere, but I'll keep going. It's good to see mistakes. Obviously a negative times a negative always gives you a positive. So, and again, 9, 3 and 3 are 1 and 9, but we got to get 10. So 1 and 9. Right? Because we take x times x is x squared. Negative x and negative 9x give us negative 10x, and negative 1 times negative 9 is positive 9, right? So now then we set each of these equal to 0. So you get x minus 1 equals 0, and you get x minus 9 equals 0. Of course, you add 1, you add 9, x equals 1 or 9. Right? Nothing too bad there. Now to the next example. We've got negative x squared minus 7x equals 10. So it doesn't work to try to factor anything over here because it equals 10. Again, you need things to equal 0 before you factor. So what do? We move the 10 over, right? Or to get rid of the, it doesn't matter. Let's do it this way first. So you get negative x squared minus 7x. And we move the 10 over, means we're subtracting 10, so you have minus 10 equals 0. Now, there's a negative everywhere, but in particular there's a negative in front of the x squared. When you're factoring, it's always easier to have a positive in front of the x squared, so we multiply everything here by negative 1 to get rid of that negative. If I multiply both sides of the equation by negative 1, then it's the same equation, right? So I multiply by negative 1 over here, I get x squared. Multiply negative 7x by negative 1, I get plus 7x. Multiply negative 10 by negative 1, I get plus 10. Multiply 0 by negative 1, you still get 0. Again, the power is 0. And so just multiply whatever we want over here, you get the same thing, right? Now we have something we want to try to factor, and you can see easily something that multiplies give you 10, adds together, now this time adds, you get 7, is going to be x plus 2, x plus 5. And then you solve both of these. X plus 2 is 0. You subtract the 2 over, you get x equals negative 2. Here you get x equals negative 5. So we get x equals negative 2 and negative 5. Right? Again, nothing too bad here. Now another example here. We have 2x squared equals 19x plus 33. So this is more complicated. Again, first we want to equal 0 to try to solve this by factoring. So what we do is we subtract both these. Well, I want to keep this x squared term positive, so I'm going to subtract both of these over. So we get 2x squared minus 19x minus 33 equals 0. Right? Now this is going to be more difficult to factor. So if we look here, we see a 2, and the only ways to break up 2 are 2 and 1. So one of these is going to have a 2x, and one of our equations is going to have an x, right? Now, we see a negative in front of the 33. So these two things, the last two constants have to multiply to give us negative 33. One's got to be a plus, one has to be a minus, and it's got to multiply to give you 33. Well, 33 is easier. It can only be 1 and 33 or 3 and 11. You see stuff like this, and they got to somehow get a 19 in the middle to factor. So you think 3 and 11 is probably a good way. And notice that if I take 11 times 2 is 22, 3 times 1 is 3, 22 minus 3 gives me 19. So I can get a 19 if I have 11 times the 2 and 3 times the 1. So I'm saying is I need the 3 here and the 11 here. Now I got to figure out the sign. I need 11 times 2 to 22, and 3 I need them to be opposite sign to get the 19, but this is a negative 19, so I need the 22 to be negative. So I need this one to be negative 22, I need a positive 3. And note that if I take 2x times x, I get 2x squared. I get 2x times, I get negative 22, and positive 3 is negative 19x. 3 times negative 11 is negative 33, right? So then I can solve these. Over here, x minus 11, this equals 0, means x equals 11. Or 2x plus 3 is 0, you get 2x equals negative 3. Or x equals negative 3 halves. That's a 2. Right? So you have two solutions, x equals negative 3 halves, x equals 11.